serve you or fail you. And it looks like it's serving us so far. It's very good. It's my privilege tonight to talk to you about the great privilege I had a few weeks ago to travel to Haiti to work with our brother Octavius Delphis. Many of you know Octavius. He's been with us before and spoken to us, and you probably know some about the work, but tonight I get to show you a little bit more about it and the great time I had in serving the ministry in a particular way that weekend. As I go through this, I'm experimenting with some new technology, but you might like this later on, so it's going to be very enjoyable. The occasion for going to Haiti was interesting. And this is not the reason I went, but it was Carnival, as they say, in Haiti, and that goes along with the Roman Catholic celebration of essentially Mardi Gras for Haiti. I was not down there to party with them, but that was definitely going on. And because that's a national holiday, the government goes all in on it. And I'll explain a bit more about that in just a moment. But in part of going all in, the students are out of school. That applies both to secondary school or high school students as well as college students. And so Haiti Mission, having the foresight they did, Octavius and Ben Hopp, who he works with, both said, this is a great opportunity. Let's focus on our young people while they're out of school. Let them not waste this, but let's grab their attention. Let's have a conference for students. And so that was the reason I came, was to do a conference for students that week. Just so you know that Haiti's a Caribbean island. You've seen it before. You're probably familiar with it, but it's not an island to itself. It shares real estate with the Dominican Republic. That dividing line, that squiggly dividing line you might see right down the middle, that's mountains. And you'll see those in just a few minutes. Haiti's an incredibly poor country. If you rank countries in terms of poverty throughout the world, they are 20th on the international scale. But in the Western Hemisphere, they are the poorest nation. An incredible statistic I learned, I did not know about Haiti, is that Haitians are the most generous people in the world. How that's measured is this, is that Haitians of the diaspora, that is Haitians who have immigrated away from Haiti to different parts of the world, whether that's France or North America or any other place they go, is they send the most money back per capita of any other people around the world. In fact, so much so, and this is an astounding statistic, the amount of money sent back by Haitians to Haiti is larger than the gross domestic product. So more income from Haiti comes from people from outside the country than actually revenue that they generate for themselves. So the poverty you'll see in some of the pictures, it's clearly demonstrated there, but at the same time, you have to know behind this and inside of this, there are incredible relationships for which Haitians can be thankful, and there's incredible hospitality that was shown to me in my time while I was there. This is some of the great fun I had. This is actually in Haiti. That's the Royal Caribbean Resort. That's me going down a huge zip line. It's the longest zip line in the world. Thank you, Missions Committee. It was. No, I am just kidding. That is not me. If you look, that guy in the picture has hair, and so you know it's not any pastor at Woodruff Road. This is a tiny portion of Haiti. It's actually there, and some people sometimes look at the extravagance and they say, "What a horrible thing!" But if you're thinking as a free market guy, you think, that's a source of income. A lot of Haitians are employed there, and it would be great for the rest of the island if that were to take place. Most of Haiti actually looks like this. There's those mountains I told you about, and there is a lot of concrete with not a lot of rebar that makes up most of the real estate around Haiti. It's dry and dusty, and even though it looks very clear, you can see it's kind of a hard time to see the mountains. That's because it's sort of a perennial state when you're there. There are common graces, though. One of those is this. That is a screenshot from my phone of the weather. If you can't see what's down the bottom there, but it's a high of 84, a low of 71. It was a nice time to be away from Greenville. I can tell you it was incredibly unpleasant to go on the last day, to go from 90 degrees down to 9 degrees in coming home. But it was good to come home. This is what you see most of the time as you're traveling throughout the streets. 5 years ago, they had a devastating earthquake, and it moved a significant portion of the population from Port-au-Prince into tent cities. Most of those are gone, but not all of them. So imagine that. Still 5 years out from the earthquake, people are still living in tents in some parts of the city. This is very common. This is the kind of thing that you see all day long is people moving about on roads that are somewhat treacherous. The travel around the city tends to be difficult, one, because there are people that just kind of fill the streets. It's constantly trying to avoid pedestrians. The other is the fact that there are water hazards scattered throughout. It was a low water crossing off to the road that we had to pass through several times. One of there's some incredibly steep grades where sometimes you had to back up and get a running start and come back up it again. Things to pass through and over. I had not seen this before in my life, but we watched a power line fall down, land in a tree, catch a tree on fire right next to the road. Another time a power line fell down to the road and we had to take a detour and go some other way. And those were just common occurrences. That's the kind of environment that our brother Octavius Delphis is trying to minister in. So you can appreciate the work that he does. All of the road travel was not bad. Some of the means of transportation are very entertaining. They are works of art. There were a lot of these, and they were full of a lot of people getting from point A to point B. You can see there how crowded the streets can be and how colorful. That's an indication that Carnival is coming. And again, people are beginning to populate the streets. This is what it actually looked like later on, and thankfully I am not the one taking that photo. For several reasons. One, I really wouldn't want to be in that because the description of it is pretty debaucherous. It's not a healthy environment. It's a big-time party. The government spends actually millions of dollars to bring in big-name acts to perform. They have parades that go down the street. And this year, while the evangelical community pulls away and they almost universally denounce Carnival and being a part of it, this year, in the course of it, the second night of it, there was a power line that fell on one of the floats that was coming down the road, and actually 20 people died because of electrocution and then a stampede that was started after that, trying to get away from the power line. The next day, the party went on. That would not likely happen in most places, but it did there. A much happier transition after that was for me to actually be in worship on Sunday morning. I arrived on Saturday night, woke up the next day, hustled off to church. We got there at 9 a.m. in the morning. Exciting things are happening right when we get in the door. There's the outside. Again, you're probably thankful that we don't have concertina wire going around the outside of Woodruff Road Presbyterian Church. We just kind of walk in and, we drive in, we park, and we walk in. There you've got someone who's manning a gate, who's letting people in, sort of one at a time, because it's in a rough part of the city. They don't have the best real estate for where they do ministry. It's very near the airport. It's kind of an industrial region, and so they have a lot of people that come from the community nearby, but most of them actually travel from a good ways away to get there. So in one sense, it's very much like Woodruff Road, how spread out the people are when they come to that church. But it's a church where there's a ministry of the Word that's there. There's clear Bible teaching, because of that, people are drawn to it. This is what welcomes you when you come in. Dan Dawes will give you $5 if you can translate that. Fedna Millian, you in here? Okay. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Isaiah 6:3 is behind their pulpit. Also, when I walked in, I see this man. This is the OPC missionary in Haiti, Pastor Ben Hop. Ben Hop was doing a great job that morning. He's teaching the Shorter Catechism. And I'll give you another shot of that. It was a little tough to read. But any guess what question he's working on? What is sanctification? Well done. And he did a fantastic exposition. It's nice when you know the topic and the content, even if you don't understand the language. You say, okay, that's what he's doing right now. Oh, I know what illustration he's using for that. And so Ben did a great job. He's mastered Creole, and he's got a wonderful partnership with Octavius. This is Nancy Pinkham. I was introduced to this man, and they said, well, his name's not really important. Call him Maestro. He prefers that. And so you can probably call Nancy that as well. I think she would appreciate that too. Again, kind of the Zydeco feel with worship there, but he did an excellent job, and it was actually very beautiful. I had some recordings, but I didn't really take the time to edit them to bring in. But worship was wonderful. The order of the service in the church was exactly like we have at Woodruff Road. You would have felt very comfortable with the liturgy when you came in, sort of the dialogical nature of it, the vertical back and forth between God and man. It was wonderful. And there was probably only one thing they did that was significantly different, is that when Pastor Octavius was leading, or when other men of the church was leading, how we have a pastoral prayer that's lengthy, every one of their prayers were about the length of our pastoral prayers. And so they were very serious and very intent on prayer. And so hopefully Pastor Dodds will be self-conscious as he begins to lead our service this evening about the paucity of his own prayers. There's Pastor Ben up close. He was useful to me. He took some time to explain things. They're both men and their wives. That is a rare picture of Octavius and Marie smiling. I cajoled them and said, please, can you smile just once for the camera? I don't know why this is the thing with them, but they don't smile a lot for pictures. But they smile a ton when you're with them. These are the happiest people, and they laughed and did just great things where you could have so personally identified with them and the ministry they were doing among the young people. They look happy all the time. Just their pictures don't always show that. Heather, who is off to the left, Ben's wife, was wonderful. I came in the morning, and she sat down next to me and said, here, let me help you. And so she translated the French and the Creole for me. It gave me a sense of what was going on as we're singing the songs. Most of them were in French. And again, she took time to say, this is what this verse is saying. And it really helps to engage the mind of worship. You understand those issues in 1 Corinthians and how meaningful it is to have the Bible in your own language. The next part of the conference was the youth conference. That's where I went to work on Monday morning. We had sort of a 9 to 3 agenda. So 9 a.m. we would start. We'd finish about 3 when everybody got done and tired of listening to me. I don't know if you can see the pictures very well, but probably about 40 students altogether that came to it. About a third of those were college age, and you could see the differences between the college age and the high school. They were exactly like the kids here, where they're still a little bit juvenile in college, but they have kind of a seriousness, and they know that they are not high schoolers anymore. And so they kind of palled around that way. The bottom picture you can't see very well, probably because of the pulpit. Love our massive pulpit. It's just not great for slideshows. But sort of the college students would sit off to the left, and the high school students would be off to the right. We'd go from about 9 to 12:30 or so, and then they brought in a hot meal. And this was just a fantastic lunch. I really wanted to have more pictures of the food because it was so good. It was not a low-carb diet for those of you who are into it, but it was quite tasty. And so we were very well provided for, and it was everyone who was there. So the ministry did a great job of encouraging the students to stick around via food, always effective for that. They were also very serious. Pastor Tab would translate what I was saying, had a very aggressive agenda of what I planned to do, sort of a survey of the whole Bible, going through each sort of section of the Bible. On the first day doing sin, the second day doing salvation, the third day doing sanctification. I don't think the alliteration would have translated into Creole, but that was my agenda. But when I got into it, one of the things I found out is that these guys had so many questions, and so many good questions, that I very quickly had to change my agenda and say, you know what, I can't do everything I wanted to do, but I've got some students who are very serious about their theology, about trying to understand the Bible, about trying to pursue personal holiness, and it dramatically reshaped what I had to do throughout the week. The second day, we had a couple of guys that came in the afternoon to fill in that afternoon slot to actually speak on Carnival. And when they came in, they did a great historical presentation. Ben Hop sat next to me and translated what they were doing. They talked about the combination of voodoo and Roman Catholic roots to what goes on in Carnival, and trying to encourage the students to stay away from it. But it's interesting is the students had a lot of questions, and I thought, man, they are really gentle with me, because they were just downright hostile with these guys in their presentation. And that encouraged me. I said, I need to do something here, because I didn't hear the guys reference Scripture all afternoon long. They had some great answers. They were very intelligent, but they didn't reference Scripture. And so I threw everything out for my last day of ministry, and I said, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do 1 Corinthians 8, 9, and 10, And we're just going to pour over the scriptures on the issue of meat sacrifice to idol, on love for the brother, on of how you guard yourself against sexual immorality and idolatry, because Paul addresses all those things so well. And the students, they just responded to it incredibly well. I was very thankful to have the opportunity to come back and address things in that way. The end of the conference was kind of neat. There's me jumping in with the kids. So I want to have some kind of picture for proof I was actually there. The kids were just wonderful. They fused thankfulness. They're very gracious and hospitable in that sense. But in conjunction with it, like many conferences here, at the end of it, the students stood up and they gave testimonies. And one of the most encouraging things that I heard was there were a number of students, this was several of them, that had only come for the conference. They weren't part of the church. They didn't know Pastor Octavius very well. But they came because there were going to be a bunch of kids hanging out. And it's kind of a fun thing to do on a break. And so at the end of it, after having been with their brothers and sisters and having heard some of their encouragement, they said, I'm repenting because I've called myself a Christian. I was taught as a child what it meant to follow Christ, but I haven't been doing it, and I need the church. I can't live without the church anymore. I need to be a part of the church, and so I want to come and I want to be under the ministry of the Word that Pastor Tav has here, and I need to be with the saints to keep me accountable and help me live holy lives. And that was the response of several of them at the end of the week. So I was very thankful to see that the same kind of responses going on among them. These guys were very happy to speak English with you. They were fun. They were very typical as far as teenagers go. You can see them kind of goofing around. Pastor Tav in the corner up there in that picture was saying something hilarious. I don't know what it was, but all the kids were laughing. So it's kind of like that a lot. If you look here in this picture, you see a row of kids, and if you can look close, all of them have cell phones in their hands. The daily fight was over who could plug their cell phone in to get to a charger, because they're just like our kids here. They're no different. Everybody wanted to text me. They said, "Can you give me your number? Can you give me your Facebook page so I can talk to you when this is over?" and that kind of thing. I said, "You know what? Just talk to Pastor Tav. He's way more fun than I am." This was I was having someone take a picture of me in the group, and the girl, that's actually Pastor Tav's daughter that's prominent, Farah. Farah quickly found the reverse image on my cell phone, turned it around to do a selfie. And so that is a universal. And what's also universal is she's doing the duck lips and the peace sign, which if you don't have a teenage daughter right now, you don't know what that is. But if you know teenage girls, every picture they take of themselves involves the peace sign and the duck lips. And so it's in Haiti as well. There's a picture where everyone's kind of falling over and making goofy faces, and just a great bunch of kids. At the end of it, I named them like, okay, that's Thomas Wade, that's Madison Bullock, that's Anna Dodds. All these same personalities were there, and that was fun in terms of ministry to know that these are kids just like us. At the end of it, I was thinking, there's probably no way to do this, but I thought I would love to do a youth conference and throw these kids together. It would probably be a big mess, but they were just so similar in so many ways. I thought we could definitely do ministry in this way. Let me say a quick word about Octavius. Octavius is a dear brother. His ministry is wonderful. It is a ministry of the Word, of the most ordinary kind, which is the kind that we love. He was incredibly hospitable. I get there, I go into their house, and they say, your room's going to be right up here. They take me to this room, and it's this huge room with a king-size bed in it. And I'm sitting there going, wow, this is an incredible guest room. And then, my senses come to me and say, this is their room. They have given up their bed for the week. And so I plead with them, please, I do not, give me a piece of the floor to sleep on. I do not need a king-size bed or these kind of accommodations. And Tav pulls me aside and he says, do you want my wife to kill me? She wants you to have this room. If you don't stay in this room, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So I'm like, okay, I will. Pastor Tav has a study he's got a tremendous library, and he uses it like you would not believe. He is cranking out good work day in and day out, night in, night out. I looked at several books that he had actually printed, that he had created for teaching the students the Bible. They were fantastic, that kind of fill-in-the-blank stuff that he had done, and they were thick books. This was not a little 5-page booklet. These were thick books. Pastor Tav has also translated the Westminster Larger Catechism into French. How many of you have read the Westminster Larger Catechism? He's doing that kind of work, and churches, French-speaking churches in Canada are using his work now, trying to get it published. That's the kind of guy that he is. He had an abundance of students in the home that were sharing life and ministry with him. He was doing individual discipleship, meeting with the young people, the youth group during the week for training. He was teaching in the Christian school, teaching a ladies' Bible study, teaching a men's study, and going out and doing visitation. The last night we were there, you may not want to shake hands with me, but the last night we were there, we went out and we did a pastoral visitation to a woman who was suffering from typhoid fever. And he was just as happy to go into her home, to sit down with her, and to read Scripture to her and pray for her as any pastor would be. And so it was such a delight to be with a brother who was so intent on doing that kind of ministry, such ordinary means of grace ministry. It's so worth supporting. So I want to encourage us as a body to continue to remember our brother Tav in prayers. It's a difficult place to do ministry. It's a dark place. There are material things working against the success of the gospel there, and there are certainly spiritual forces that are very much set on not seeing that kind of work succeed. But God is graciously providing for him. We're seeing good work in terms of the students' response, the people's response. The church was full on Sunday morning. There was no seating left, and they would be greatly blessed by more resources in that. So let me just encourage you to continue to think of him and to think about your connection to it. Scripture there is from Hebrews chapter 3, verses 4 and 6. I thought it was appropriate to make the connection. In Hebrews 3:4 we read, "For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God. Christ is faithful over God's house as a son, and we are his house, if indeed we hold fast our confidence and our boasting in our hope firm to the end." The house that's built in Haiti, the house that's built right here at Woodruff Road are one and the same. The builder is Christ. And so when we partner, when we share together, when we invest in each other, we are pursuing that same ends of glorifying Christ and see his house be grown with us. And so thank you for encouraging me to go, for supporting me while I was there, for your prayers which sustained me, and are continuing to sustain that ministry. Appreciate your time tonight.
Nancy